Ross and Michelle from WaffleTV, and we're here today with Andrew O'Neill. How are you doing today?
Hello, I'm very well, thank you very much. Yeah, it's sunny, which is rare. This is my 10th Fringe, and I think this is the sunniest I've seen it for any length of time. Yeah. It's a whole afternoon without rain. It's brilliant.
Yeah, I know. It's usually sort of sunny, rainy, a bit of snow.
Yeah, it's good.
So, are you enjoying the Fringe so far?
I'm having a wicked time, yeah. I'm doing 2 shows. I'm doing my solo show, and I'm doing a show with one of the other guys in my band in the afternoons. And, yeah, it's nice. It's been quite relaxed.
So tell us a bit about your show.
It's called Andrew O'Neill is Easily Distracted. It's about the fact that I have borderline ADHD and find it quite hard to get down to anything approaching normal, real work. Because, obviously, as a stand-up, I'm self-employed. I don't have a boss to tell me to get back to work. So anything like from the internet to people coming around my house to jobs that need doing to big crisps can distract me from writing the show. So I ended up, while I was struggling to write the show because I was distracted, I ended up writing material about the fact that I was distracted from writing the show and thus writing the show. It's basically a con trick.
All right, that's brilliant. So what made you want to get into comedy?
Ego, hubris. I was a massive comedy fan before I started doing it, ever since I was a kid. So whether it's like Monty Python or Blackadder or Vic and Bob, and I was obsessed with it. And just with most things in my life, the things I really like, I go, I'll give it a go. So I did the same thing with music. And then, I got into Eddie Izzard. He was the first stand-up I really loved. And because before then I wanted to be a sketch comic. And he started doing what was essentially sketch comedy as stand-up, and talked about doing it for several years. Bent people's ear with, I'm going to do stand-up. Okay, well, good, go and do it, And then, gave it a go. And then my first stand-up gig, it was very, very obvious. I just went, this is what I'm supposed to be doing. Because I've been in bands for years before that. And, I love music, but I have to work. Music doesn't come naturally to me, whereas comedy kind of comes a bit more naturally.
So do you ever get nervous before your shows?
Not really.
Do you have any sort of good luck routines, little things that you do before you go on?
I do the Kabbalistic cross, which is a precursor to the lesser banishing ritual of the pentagram, which is a kind of centering thing. That's quite good. But no, I don't get nervous. I mean, I've been doing comedy for like 5 or 6 nights a week for 10 years. Oh, right, so I do comedy more often than I shower. So it's I mean, there are certain gigs. I mean, last year or the year before? I think the year before, when I did Sonosphere, I played in front of 5,500 people.
Wow, yeah.
That was
So Edinburgh's much smaller gigs.
Yeah, and nicer as well. I mean, Edinburgh crowds are comedy literate. They're out for a night of comedy. The rest of the year I do my tour dates, but I also do club gigs. So I do the Jonglers and Highlight and do their, they often play to like stag parties and hen parties and that, and it's more of a battle to get them to listen. But here, they're smart and they're a sort of broadsheet comedy crowd, and it's, to me, Edinburgh's always been more a kind of end in itself rather than a means to an end. People see it as the thing that's going to make them famous, but I tend to see it more as just an opportunity to play for really nice people.
Yeah. So do you prefer performing at big gigs or smaller, more intimate ones?
Big gigs. The bigger the better.
More money.
Well, partly, money's good, but there's, as a stand-up, you manipulate the energy a crowd gives off, and if you're playing to a massive room, then there's more energy there. I mean, it gets to a point where, festival gigs are a completely different kettle of fish. You're playing to 5,500 people. Half of them aren't going to be listening to you at any given time. But yeah, generally, the bigger there is, more energy, the more they hear each other laughing, and you build up. I mean, the stand-up gigs I'll do on the circuit will be sort of 200-300 people, and that's a really nice size. And if you play to one person, then they're probably not going to laugh at half of what you say. If you play to 2 people, they'll probably between them laugh at everything you say. Yeah. If you play to 4 people, so it's big crowds are good.
So how long have you been performing at the Fringe?
This is my 10th year.
Oh wow, yeah.
It's 9 years, and by the end of this, I will have spent probably the best part of a year, like month by month, year by year in Edinburgh. So I did like a showcase show. I did a couple of 2-handers, and then I started doing solo shows, and it just feels like it's my second home. It's really nice. Yeah.
So what is it about Edinburgh that keeps bringing you back? What makes it different from performing in different places?
The comedy industry's here, so there are people who can give you breaks. That's what the main reason most of us come up after you get to a certain level. And then, as I said before, the audiences are. Even playing like the Edinburgh Stand outside of the festival. Yeah. because Edinburgh crowds have the Fringe. They're much more comedy literate. And the city's beautiful as well. I mean, it's the best. It's by far the best set festival.
Especially when the weather's like this.
Well, yeah, absolutely. But then also, someone said the other day on Twitter that Edinburgh kind of proves itself when it's raining. I actually think Edinburgh suits the winter better than it suits the summer, because you've got the kind of the coziness of the basement bars and that sort of thing. But it's just a nice place to be in the summer, particularly when we have some.
Yeah. So, do you have any particular comedians that you look up to even now?
Greg Davies is very tall. Yeah, I mean, I've got my heroes. There's my heroes are predominantly people like the Pythons, but then Stuart Lee's I think probably the best comic in the world. Simon Munnery is incredible. He's a genius and constantly comes up with exciting stuff. But it's odd because comedy's such a small world. It gets to a point where these people are your peers rather than kind of being your heroes. I've met most of my heroes, most of my comedy heroes as well, and they've all been absolutely lovely. But it's nice to be able to chat to Bill Bailey and go, I'm a comic, and he'll go, oh really? Oh okay, cool. And then we hang out and chat for a bit. And I met Harry Hill, I met Eddie Izzard, I met Terry Jones. That was amazing and terrifying. But yeah, it's the weird thing with comedy now is probably my influences don't come from comedy anymore. They come from books I'm reading or films or music. I'm obsessed with Tom Waits at the moment.
Oh, I love Tom Waits.
And his you'll like my show then because he features quite heavily. And his approach to what he does and his complete disregard for traditions or what other people are doing or what's popular at that given point. He completely ploughed his own furrow, and I think in terms of thinking about how I want to pursue comedy, that's how I think. I being a massive comedy fan before I started, I've always had a very clear idea of what it is I want to do and what I want to be. And so quite often, particularly when you're starting, people give you unsolicited feedback, to which my response was a polite nod, and then my brain going, "Don't tell me what to do." I've slowly but surely built a following, and it's nice, particularly doing music festivals as well. And so generally the front row of my gigs will be full of outcasts and geeks and metalheads and goths and that. And it's nice to always have that. Like last night I had a front row that were just like genuinely pissing themselves laughing from the get-go. And some of the other audience slightly puzzled as to why, But and I think that thing of I want people like that to come and see me and go, yeah, he's our one. Fuck the mainstream. Yeah,
brilliant. So why should people come and see your show?
Because it's the funniest thing I've ever done, by far. I've worked really hard at this one. I started writing it in February. I took it out to Adelaide, Brisbane, Melbourne, Sydney, New Zealand, and I think it's probably the funniest hour of stand-up on the Fringe at the moment. I've absolutely crammed it full of jokes. It's bursting at the seams, and it has Tom Waits in it. Not literally, that would be quite something, but yeah.
All right, brilliant. So tell us when and where you're performing.
I am performing at the Pleasance Baby Grand at 10:45 every night. I've got a couple of nights off, but disregard those, just try and come anyway.
Yeah, brilliant. Well, it's been great talking to you.
Thank you very much. Andrew O'Neill is Easily Distracted, that's the song. I'm going to go over there because there's something shiny.
I'm listening to Shale and you've been watching WaffleTV.